how do you operationalize this? Let's get right to it. It's gone in your favor. What happens next? What do you do?
Well, so it's been a big year of scaling for us. So over the past several months, we've ramped up our operations in a very measured and careful way as we see the performance of these AVs improve on the road. And so the big difference with yesterday's permit, which is the 6th one we've got in California, the final one needed to commercialize our service, is we can convert that service from a free service to a fared service. And so it's a big milestone for not just us, but the AV industry, and I think a signal for California that we are going to prioritize progress versus accepting the tragedy of the status quo on our roads today.
How strong is the signal? I tweeted or I X'd that you're coming on the program. And actually a really fair question I got in response was, why did the CPUC just do San Francisco? Why not say to Cruise or Waymo, have at it in Los Angeles, Sacramento, any other city in the state?
That was actually at our direction. We've been working with regulators, like I said, for years now. And the very first time we went to the CPUC for fared service, it was for a small region of San Francisco, a limited number of cars, so we could work with regulators and show them that this technology was ready. And so this is actually the second time we've gone for a fared permit, and this is an expansion of that original permit. And we'll do the same later this year, or perhaps next year when we expand into California and other cities in the States.
So why San Francisco? Why is this the place to not just test the technology, but commercialize the business?
Well, candidly, we're based here in San Francisco, so this is our home territory. But we see San Francisco as a litmus test for the commercialization of robotaxis. If they work in a city like San Francisco, where we have high population density, steep hills, heavy fog, a lot of tricky construction and other things, then that means it can work in many other cities similar cities across the U.S. And of course, from a business standpoint, these are the early days of the technology. These vehicles, the first version is always more expensive than later ones, and we want to start in cities where there's a high willingness to pay. So you'll see us start in some of the major cities before we work out into some of the other cities.
What about money in your pocket now? I know the wait list is in the tens of thousands, so you are able to charge a fare, you onboard the wait list. Does that bring in sort of meaningful revenue for you guys? Because I'm going to get into the history of your company in a second, but I am interested in how quick the impact of being able to charge a fare is.
Well, today we're still operating in relatively small scale. It's going to we have on the order of hundreds of vehicles, but up from 50 or so a year ago, and you're going to see that move into the thousands. Not right away, but over time. Across several cities that we're operating in. But the rate of expansion has been pretty impressive, and this is not because we're going just going wild here. It's actually because the AV system itself is improving so quickly. That's one of the remarkable things about AVs compared to human drivers is they can keep getting better over time and even exponentially. And so even just a couple weeks ago on the GM earnings call, I said we were at about 10,000 rides per week. This last week it was 15,000. So we're seeing demand that's off the charts, and I think that's going to lead to continued expansion in the near term.
I talked about the history. Last night on Bloomberg Television, we aired an episode of The Circuit with Emily Chang, and she's talking to Gary Tan about Y Combinator. You guys were Y Combinator class of winter 2014.
I think that's right.
9 years it's taking you to get to this point. Is that fast progress, or is that frustratingly slow progress?
Well, building a car that can operate, better in many ways than a human driver is one of the ultimate AI challenges, and there's no shortcuts. And so, the first 8 years of this 10-year journey was a grind. It's continuous improvement, improving the software to the point we saw compelling evidence that this is going to have a positive impact on road safety. And so unlike other AI products where you can launch a product out there in the public as soon as it's kind of working, in our case, that technology really had to be matured and made robust before we put it out there on the roads. And so it has been a 10-year journey, but we're really happy now that we're finally able to put this out there and people are able to use it, and we're going to see benefits in road safety as a result.
Okay, so we're going to look at some pictures of what are retrofitted, customized Chevy Bolts driving around San Francisco. It's also the case in other states like Arizona, Texas, right? A question I constantly get is why no New York City, but also no China, because there are Chinese players that test in the Bay Area and in Chinese cities. Could you answer those two, please?
For New York and other cities, it's not a question of if, but when. And this technology The way we've deployed it is we make it work in a defined environment. And so in San Francisco, you've got fog and steep hills, but you don't have ice or snow. And so that'll come in the next couple of years. And once we add that capability, we'll be able to expand into some of the colder weather cities. But that's not slowing our expansion today. I mean, a year ago, we were in one city, just operating in San Francisco. As of today, we've announced 7 or 8 cities that we'll be in imminently. And so you're going to see that rapid expansion probably in the Sun Belt in the areas where the capabilities are a match to what we see in those cities.
Let's talk about the future from the technology perspective and origin. So right now, these are retrofitted or customized Chevy Bolts, but you are designing, and we're showing it right now, a purpose-built, steering wheel-less, seats inward-facing shuttle. Okay, where are we with that product?
Engineering is complete. We're on the verge of going into production. We expect some announcements on that in the next few weeks. But the exciting thing about this vehicle is it's the first time a car has been built from the ground up for this robotaxi purpose. So it lasts a lot longer than a regular car. It's designed to be optimal for pooled rides, so multiple people sharing a vehicle because there's lots of space between them. And the cost of it will be substantially lower than the first generation of the technology. So I think the cars on the road today feel like a car where you've just removed the driver. You still see the steering wheel moving around. The origin feels like what a driverless vehicle was meant to be, and that experience that I think we've all perhaps been fantasizing about for years.
Can you just explain in simple terms how, when production starts, you will deploy to the real world the origin against your existing infrastructure?
Yeah, so we've already been testing the origin, and again, this car has no steering wheel, so without any safety driver or anyone behind the wheel in multiple cities. And as it goes into production, you'll see us start deploying those vehicles, again, in a gradual and measured way across the existing 7 or 8 cities that we've announced, and then ramp up the number of those vehicles in each city as we ramp up production.
There is a fierce battle for talent right now, broadly in the theater of artificial intelligence, but machine learning or neural networks is a big part of what you guys do as well. What are your biggest challenges right now from a cash perspective, from a talent perspective, that you've got left to tackle in 2023?
Well, we're very fortunate to have robust support from General Motors. That
Yes.
Mary and her team see this as a key part of GM's future. And so when we talk to candidates, when we talk to AI talent, they like to see that strong backing. But also, for many people, there are a lot of AI opportunities out there that are fun or interesting problems, but many of them still feel like toys. When you work on a self-driving car, that is having a real impact affecting road safety today, and it's one of the best ways that an AI engineer can spend their time, in my opinion.